Alright, what we'll be making today is a casserole. So a casserole is essentially a round vessel with a lid over the top, and I'm going to teach you how to make a dome lid for this. This is the one of the 4-part series of lids. We did the recessed lid, the inset lid, the chopstick drop box lid, and now a domed lid. So it's kind of the final part of the 4-part series. And I'm going to go ahead and throw the body first. I'm just going to give you the basics on the actual structure itself, and then later we'll add handles and things like that. So there'll be handles on the side, and once you see the body, I'll kind of describe that a little better. And then there'll be a handle on top of the lid. These are, with this stoneware, we're using LBM, or Long Beach Minus Iron from Aardvark, Cone 10 clay, and you can use it in the oven. I would not use it stovetop. I don't think it'll withstand the thermal shock, but you can use it in the oven. I've used them many a times throughout my life. My dad made them as a kid, and I used them all the way growing up. My mom always used them. So I'm going to go ahead and get this centered. This is about 5 pounds of clay right here. I honestly think it's going to be a bit much, but I wanted to overestimate just for the sake of the video. I think 4 pounds might do it. We'll see once I get there. Bigger casserole just means more food can fit in there, so that's always a good thing. I'm going to center this kind of low. Get rid of that little chunk. Go 2 hands on this one. There we go. Clean off all the slip. Okay, now I'm going to open it. I'm going to leave about a little less than a 1/2 inch, a little more than a 1/4 inch of clay on the bottom. Open that a little just so I can get a reading. Take my needle tool, measure the bottom. So that's about how thick it is right there. A little more than a 1/4, a little less than a 1/2 inch. That way I can make a nice deep foot. I like deep feet, especially on these, because if you set them on, say, a tile counter that's cold afterwards, less likely to crack, because the foot distributes the coldness, or it's making contact less with less surface area. Whereas if I had a totally flat bottom, the entire bottom would be cold very quickly instead of just touching on that little strip that is the foot. I'm going to go ahead and pull this out. If it's a bigger piece and your hands aren't big enough, you can use the Viper grip. I make sure that my elbows are in, and I use 2 to 3 fingers on each hand, and I pull towards my belly button. My hands are big enough, I can just pull with my thumb. But I'm going to pull this way out here. Water. So pull it out just a little bit more. I got a little bit more from the floor that wasn't quite level, and I'm going to compress this after. I'm going to take my smooth rib. 1, I'm flattening the floor. 2, I'm compressing. Wider things like this or platter have a tendency to crack. They get little S cracks. So if you end up with a crack in it after bisque firing, or especially blaze firing, you know where it came from. You didn't compress quite well enough, or you just let it dry way too fast. Stoneware is not as finicky as porcelain would be. There's my floor, it's compressed. I actually have a lot of clay on the side, so I think I'm going to open it just a little bit more. But now I'm going to clean up the bottom. I just compressed, add a little signature swirl, and then open just a bit more. Okay, It's pretty well centered, but just for the sake of example, I want to recenter this. Most of you can use your thumb here as long as you don't point the tip of your thumb so it doesn't catch. But my thumb is a little too long and gets in the way, so I just recenter like so. Little bit of water. Okay, you could go as wide as the wheel head is, but I'm going to pull this up and eventually belly it out a little bit. So go ahead and slow this down. A little too slow. There we go. It's going to slip off my hands. Now I'm ready to pull. Normal pull. I use 2 fingers. My middle finger is really the one pulling. The pointer finger just gets rid of the little shelf above it. Slip trail there. Okay. Again, another pull. You notice my first pull, I always go kind of a volcano shape. Just kind of sets me up for success as far as what I can get away with and what I can't get away with. Really don't have to go that far in. Again, this is 5 pounds. Earlier I was second guessing myself, but now looking at it, I think it's a perfect weight. One more pull. This pull I'm really going to compress down here and get all that clay in there. Again, getting the slip off. I think I have one more pull in there. Really going to compress. Too much. Got carried away. Sometimes I go with a knuckle. Press in there. And pull straight up. So now I'm ready for shaping. Let's see how that lip looks when I compress it. Okay, it had a little wobble to it. Still a slight wobble, but I'm okay with that amount. So now I'm going to round this out on the inside. Just like I would a bowl, but I'm going to leave the lip where it is. So this whole thing should be concave. The outside hand isn't going to do a whole lot. I'm going to get one more squeeze out of that, but then I'm going to bring that up. So the outside really isn't doing anything now. Initially I squeezed it in just to get a little bit more clay out of it. Just trying to utilize as much clay as I can. So I'm going to belly that out a little bit further. Just cleaning stuff up. Okay, so that's essentially the body, but these, especially for this assignment, need to have a seat lid. Wipe my hands off. It needs to have a seat lid, and the way you make a seat lid is I hold down here with my pointer finger and I just bring the lip out. Kind of far. Okay, let's see if it's good enough. I'm going to clean the lip up, clean everything off. Find a little detailing. Check and see if I like the angle of that. And I'll turn the pot to you to let you see the angle once I get it to where I like it. So I'm going to go ahead and trim the bottom of this using the popsicle stick side of the modeling tool. Then I switch over to the blade side and I just slide that underneath so that my wire has a place, my cutting wire has a place to slide right under there. I always cut these on the first day and then let them sit, let them dry. And then I can take it off the wheel. Most of the time we don't have that luxury. You gotta get stuff out of the way, especially if you're in a studio setting, like we are here. So that lid seat isn't quite far enough out for me. So I'm gonna put my finger back in there and really pull that lip over. Okay, then I'm gonna push that lip back up just a little bit. I'll show you why in just a second. My lip goes out further than my belly, so I'm going to push the belly out just a little bit more. I want the belly, otherwise it just looks awkward. And I started from the top and worked my way down. The reason why is because the bottom tends to be a little bit more clay, so you can push a little harder. And some of my students get carried away and they push really hard, and then they get up to where it's softer and thinner. And you push out too far, too fast, and sometimes collapse pieces. So that's why I start at the top. To each their own. Whatever works best for you. Okay, so now my belly's out as far as the top or the lid seat. Just cleaning off some slip. So now I'll show you. So you can see right in here, this little seat, that's where my dome lid is going to fit into. So if it's too little or too subtle, there's not enough space for the lid to sit into, especially if something warps, like this could warp. Any number of things can happen, so you want to make sure that lid seat is pretty far out there. Okay, so there's the body. Later on I'd have a handle on this side, a handle on this side. You can do any number of things, roll out some coils, do some spirals, whatever you want to do, get creative with that. That's up to you. I don't want to get in the way of your creativity, but that's the body of the casserole. And now I'm going to make the lid. So this is going to be a dome lid. And what I usually do is I take 3/5 of the size of the casserole. So that one was 5 pounds, so I take 3 pounds here. 3 pounds of clay to make my dome lid, which honestly is usually a little too much. Get that a little more centered. There we go. Little pebble in there. Okay. Normally I'd wash my hands off in between these two, but for the sake of the video, we'll just get it going. So I'm going to cone up and cone down on this one, because I really don't want this one to warp, because the lid is the main culprit for warping. So now I'm going to open probably about the same depth as the last one, but between 1/4 inch and 1/2 inch. Kind of know that depth on something this small, so I don't need to measure it, but I would measure it with your needle tool. Okay, as far as the measurement of it, let me bring the other one back into view here. So my casserole, I'm going to measure with a caliper or a lid master, okay? So I'll take it. Hopefully you can see this. But I'll take my lid master, get my measurement. So right there. My lid master measurement for how wide I'm going to open this. I'm essentially just making a bowl, and the bowl is an upside down lid or a dome lid. So most lids you throw upside down, a recessed lid not so much, but this one is a dome lid, so I'm throwing it upside down. So right now I'm just kind of cleaning up that floor from that initial opening. Fairly wide. Recenter a little bit. I go almost to my measurement of my lid, and then just about I'd say a 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch deficit. So this one's pretty close. Now I'm just going to throw it up, and then I'm going to bowl it out, or kind of curve it out to meet my measurement. So it's fairly close, but a little more than a 1/2 inch on each side. So now I'm going to throw it up, or pull it up. You could pull this out diagonal, if that's the way you throw a bowl. My first pull, I just pull straight up, because I'm going to do another pull. So I'm going to dig in there this time. And this time I'm going to pull outwards. More of a bowl structure. I'm going to trim off some of this with my thumb. And again, this is 3/5. So I had 5 pounds on the first one, 3 pounds for the lid. You don't want your lid to be too deep as far as like the depth of your bowl that you're making. Otherwise it look really awkward. So just a couple inches, maybe 3 inches tall. And I like to flatten this part because that's what's going to sit right in that lid seat. So no matter what angle it goes at, I go parallel to the ground. Now for shaping and a little bit of compressing. So I'm going to clean out the bottom, just compress it a little bit. That slip off. Clean up the inside. Check my measurement. So we are pretty close, I just need to bring that out a bit. It's about a 1/16 of an inch off. I really want to get these as precise as I can, and I try to throw them in the same day. Otherwise my initial vessel will dry up and shrink a bit. And then I have a tough time making a precise lid. I can make a lid for it always, but it just ends up being a hassle. And I feel like I end up, like if this lid were to break or something like that, it would just not be anywhere near as precise as if I got it right away. Okay, just pull that out just a tiny bit, clean up the slip, clean the outside. And we were pretty dead on. Okay, so tomorrow I would cut this off. Actually, I'd cut it now, but tomorrow I'd take it off and I would flip it over, trim it round to some extent. You can get creative with it. I used to say don't put a foot on the top because it just was awkward to me, but I've had students do some really creative things with lines and things like that. So again, this is the lid upside down. It's 3 pounds. This is the body. So this I'll trim down round on the other side, flip it over onto the piece here. 2 handles on the side and 1 handle on the top of this just to be able to get it off. And that way it's not so hot when you grab, like if you cook in there. Yes, if you're cooking in the oven, that handle will get hot, but it does cool much faster than the actual lid, and it makes it a whole lot easier to get off of there. That is the casserole.